Hey guys, and welcome back. Today's review, which is P.S. I Like You by Kasie West, is a momentous occasion because it is the last one that will be read from the good old moleskin. That's right, I've hit the end. Very last page. Thankfully, I actually liked this book, so we're sending my moleskin off on a good farewell. But yeah, I did not expect to like this book, but this was a good, quick read, and we all know I don't do romance, so the fact that I like this cute little romance says a lot. I'll give it a 5-star. Is it a 5-star book? Not necessarily, because it's a little romance. It's fluffy, but for a fluffy little romance, Kasie West did a really good job. This book is about a young woman named Lily who is an aspiring songwriter. She comes from this big, chaotic family, which, can I say, it's not that big. 4 siblings, that's what I'm from. And it felt big, and it was definitely chaotic, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of kids. But for her, it's a big, chaotic family, and they get on her very last nerve. But she, as I said, is an aspiring songwriter, and she ends up stumbling across an advertisement for a songwriting contest. Good things can only happen for her if she's able to win. The problem is, she never lets anybody read her songs, and she's never actually finished a song. And I will say, to start with, I finished a book that I liked for the most part, but the very end made me really cranky. So I went into this feeling very cranky, and it did not leave a good first impression on me because Lily felt very cliched. She was that cliched punk rock chick who has to be different, and I was like, great. So now we're gonna have the moody, broody songwriter who is totally misunderstood, and of course she dresses weird because she's got to be different, and she's got the best friend who's not a good best friend because she's dating somebody, and I was like, wow, we are really not building up to good things. Thankfully, we left all those superficial descriptions at the beginning, and West did a great job developing all of her characters moving forward, but it could have been stronger. You know, she's the girl that wears the Chuck's high tops with the funky striped leggings, and it went overboard trying to portray her as different. I'm really tired of characters needing to be different and unique and edgy and whatever, because especially I was expecting her not to fit in. But by the end of the book, it was like she was really pretty. So again, it was that stereotype of, oh, she's pretty and she doesn't know it. But she basically could have any guy she wants. So I felt like Lily in the beginning was not the actual Lily. We start off with Lily in her chem class. She has this habit of not paying attention in chem class, which I wouldn't have either. I probably only paid attention because I needed a passing grade, but I understood none of it. So it was probably very hard for me to pay attention in chem class. But she spends most of her time in class writing song ideas and lyrics in her notebook. At the end of class, her teacher, Mr. Ortega, pulls her aside and is like, look, no more notebook. You are not allowed to have your notebook in class. You are allowed to have 1 sheet of paper, and I will be checking that 1 sheet of paper for your chem notes at the end of every class. So she's like, oh no, my life is over. She ends up writing something on her desk because she's so bored. I think they are lyrics to a song by a little known emo punk rock band. And she goes on her merry way. We meet up with her best friend Isabel, and this is where I'm like, oh great, now we've got that best friend where they're like opposites attract, where one is super gloomy and the other is super bubbly. Not the case at all. I actually really liked Lily's voice. I thought she was very funny and very engaging. But the problem here is that apparently Isabel and her boyfriend Gabe are celebrating 3 months. So they can't sit together because she and Gabe are gonna go off to have Taco Bell for their 3-month anniversary. I think this book was written in 2016 or 2018. They just must live in a very different town than when I grew up, because when I got to high school, they had just cracked down. And I went to high school in the early 2000s. They had just cracked down on not leaving campus for lunch. So they must be in a very different time and place, because Gabe doesn't even go to her school. So the fact that he's able to leave his school, meet her for lunch, then go off campus, it just cranky me found all of this a bit of a stretch. Then we meet Lily's arch nemesis, Cade. Cade and Isabel had actually dated. I think they're 17 now, so they're juniors. I think Isabel and Cade had dated in middle school, and the big reason for their breakup was because Cade and Lily could not get along. She cannot stand him. He also gave her this nickname, Magnet, because she's not athletic, and they were in PE, and I think they were playing volleyball or something, and all the balls kept coming to her, so he nicknamed her Magnet, and even now, years later, people still call her Magnet, which bothers her to no end. When she gets back to chem the next day, somebody has written her back. And she's like, wait a minute, how can this person know my favorite band? They're so obscure. I was still really cranky about this point. It took 2 or 3 chapters for me to stop being cranky and to start enjoying this book. They start having this back and forth, and eventually what her pen pal does is they put the note underneath the desk, because they started running out of room on top of the desk, and she's really digging this person. Initially, she thinks this person is a girl because they joke about wanting to be the main singer from this band, and this singer is female, and then she realizes it's actually a guy. She's not very interested in figuring out who this person is, though, which I thought was different, because usually that's the impetus of a story like this, is who is my pen pal? Who could they be? And especially because a romance will be involved. Feelings might begin because of these letters. But she really doesn't want to know. She just likes to have the knowledge that she's got this person that keeps her going through chem class. As she communicates with this person, she finds herself inspired, because while she comes from this big chaotic family, he comes from a very disconnected, small family. He reveals his own sort of chaotic family life, in which his dad left when he was a child. He doesn't have much to do with his dad. He does not get along with his stepdad, and he doesn't understand why. He doesn't understand why he's never good enough for his stepdad. It's all of these things that she's learning about him that get the creative juices flowing for her, and starts to inspire a song based off of his life. Of course, this is not something she feels like she's ever going to share, just because it's not her life to share, but things do start turning in her mind, and she starts figuring out some ideas for at least one song. Along the way, Isabel is desperate to hook Lily up with somebody. She wants Lily to be in a relationship. It's around Halloween, and Lily had promised Isabel that she would hang out with her on Halloween. Apparently, she didn't tell her mother, so when the time comes, her mother's like, you're not going anywhere. You're babysitting your brothers, because she has a sister named Ashley, and then 2 younger brothers named Jonah and Wyatt. I think Wyatt is 7 and Jonah is 10, and then Ashley is in college. She's hanging out, and then all of a sudden the doorbell rings, and there's Isabel. And it's not just Isabel, but it's Gabe, the boyfriend, and another guy named David. Lily realizes now why Isabel was so upset that she bailed. They come in, they're having some time, and it's kind of awkward with David. And they do have this rabbit named Bugs Rabbit. I don't really understand the point of this rabbit, but he ends up stepping in rabbit pee, and he leaves, and it's just kind of awkward, and she's just like, yeah, well, there goes that. Sometime later, her mom, who makes jewelry, because they are middle class of a sort, maybe lower middle class, they don't have a lot of money. The dad does contract work to build furniture, and the mom is very artsy. She makes jewelry. She does stuff that she'll sell at arts and crafts fairs. So sometimes the kids will tag along, and they'll get paid by helping her with her arts and crafts stuff. So she goes to this arts and crafts fair, and she sees that Cade is sitting at the booth next to her. And she's like, Great, this is great. She's like, I need to get out of here. So she tries to go get some food. And while she's there, she sees Cade eating and he overhears him talking to a friend. The friend is basically like, oh, like hot chicks, who's gonna be here? And Cade is like, dude, this is AARP stuff here. Nobody our age. It's not gonna work. And the friend's like, oh, but what about that one girl? Referring to Lily. Cade's like, no. He completely shuts this down and he badmouths her. But the friend's like, but she's kind of cute. Then Lily and Cade make eye contact because the woman behind her is like, aren't you gonna order something? And anyways, so things go from there. Also, another little subplot is that Lily has been mooning over this senior named Lucas. While she doesn't want to know the identity of her pen pal, she does kind of have a running list of who it could be. And the sad thing for her is that Lucas absolutely could not be her pen pal because he's a senior and he would not be taking chemistry. He continues to be her ideal guy throughout this novel, even though she refuses to talk to him, which is completely understandable because it's really hard to talk to your crush. But she does have an opportunity at this football game only to be interrupted by Cade, which makes her upset because he's always ruining things for her. She is acknowledging that he saw her talking to this guy and he intentionally interrupted and drew Lucas away to spite her. She and Isabel initially decided to go to this football game because David is in the marching band. So she and David, Isabel, and Gabe go to this park afterwards and they're swinging and they're chatting, and she is talking about his getup and she's thinking, don't you get made fun of for this? And he's like, I mean, I really don't wear it outside of band, but whatever. And this gets her on the subject of bullies, and she's like, oh, well, I bet I can guess the number one bully who gives you a hard time. He guesses all these other people. She's like, no. It's Cade. And he's like, Cade? He and Cade have some kind of friendship. I don't really know. It was kind of glazed over. But he's like, I mean, I guess I could see what you mean, but Cade's always been really nice to me. And so they have this disagreement about how mean of a person Cade is. And of course, Isabel's in the background being like, stop talking about Cade. And I didn't really care for the storyline with David because I felt like it was middling. There was no chemistry. He was someone she was obviously not interested in, yet she continues to entertain him or the idea of being with him. And it's one thing to say, all right, not my type, but I'm gonna try. But it didn't feel like that's what was going on here. It really just felt like pressure from Isabel. So I would have liked something more concrete from those two because they continue to hang out. And like most people, the more they get to know each other, the better they get along. But I couldn't figure out what this relationship was supposed to be, except it's Isabel trying to get her best friend in a relationship. A couple things start happening at this point in the book. Wyatt, her little brother, starts t-ball and she learns that Cade is his coach. She's also told her pen pal, because we already know about his very lackluster home life, she has told him about her Thanksgiving traditions. And then one day in chem, they have a sub. I think the girl's name is Lauren. She typically sits next to this girl whose name is Lauren. But Lauren's best friend is this girl named Sasha. Sasha is a popular girl. She's not a nice girl, at least to Lily. She has this thing going with Cade that, I don't know, Lily likes to think about. They have a sub, and Lily walks into class, and Sasha is sitting in her seat. And Sasha's like, oh, well, you need to go sit somewhere else because I'm going to sit here. Of course, this is problematic for Lily because she, one, wants her note from her pen pal. Two, she's like, oh, crap. They'd never erased the stuff on the top of the desk, and one of those was an arrow pointed to the other underside of the desk. And she's like, oh, great. What if Sasha finds the note? So this whole class period, she's looking back at Sasha, and Sasha starts to notice, and Sasha makes a rude gesture, and Cade shows up. He is coming to be, I forget exactly what his excuse is, But the sub is like, I don't buy it. Who are you? Cade's like, oh, never mind. I'm getting out of here. Nobody will give up Cade's identity. Later, well, should I talk about that? Yes, I will. The sub leaves a bad note about the class to Mr. Ortega, one that Lily had behaved poorly in class when actually it was Sasha, because they had a seating chart and nobody ever corrected him about who was where. And at this point, when Ortega brings it up, I think she does try to say that wasn't her, it was Sasha, but since I was listening to it, which the audiobook wasn't bad, but I did not like the way the narrator voiced boys, because it was all like, real surfer dude, man. They all sounded exactly the same. In the way she voiced them, particularly Cade, it made it hard for me to take him seriously. I think she does say something to Mr. Ortega, but Ortega doesn't care, or he doesn't listen, and he gives her detention. In the midst of all of this, she comes home one day to find her guitar broken. She shares a room with Lauren. She is very neat and tidy and orderly, whereas Lauren is not. And she's always touchy about people coming in and touching her stuff. As I said, they're not super wealthy, so it took her some time to save up this money to buy a guitar, and now it's broken. And my one issue with this scene, and I know some of it was handled off page, but she comes home to discover that her guitar is broken. She goes to her mother and she is 100% convinced that it's Jonah, because I guess Jonah likes to go into her room and touch her stuff, and he lies about the things that he may or may not have done. So she is convinced it's Jonah. Jonah's like, I didn't do it. But I wish the mother had been on her side a little bit more. You off page, you get the sense that there is disciplinary action taken, but this guitar is a couple $100, if not more. It was in her room. She had taken pains to make sure it was stored and stored safely, because she keeps it in a hard case because she knows bad things happen. And the mother couldn't have cared less about the fact that both emotional and physically important object to her daughter was broken. I needed more from the mother. Even if she's trying to keep her cool, I would have liked her to acknowledge the fact that somebody in this house broke her daughter's guitar, something that nobody can afford to replace. Although I would like to know, what kind of backup funds do her parents have? Could they have actually done it? Or I would have liked to have seen maybe the mother figuring out a way to sacrifice in order to get her daughter a new guitar. It was problematic for me the way that the mother was portrayed at handling it. Not that she has to get angry and bend Jonah over her knee and spank him right then and there, but I thought Lily needed a little bit more justice from her mom. So now that her guitar is broken, she's devastated because she doesn't know what to do, because she can't continue with the songwriting contest if she doesn't have a guitar, because she has to write the song and she has to compose music for this song. So she's trying to figure out what to do, because there's no way that she's going to be able to make enough money to buy a guitar in time. She does want to possibly get it fixed, at which point she runs into Lucas, and then he does tell her, hey, I know somebody who works at this music place and they could possibly take a look at it and maybe help you out. But that's for a later time. First, she actually has to run into him in the first place, and what better way to run into Lucas than to see that he is carrying a chem book. He is apparently taking or retaking chem as a senior, which gives her hope that maybe he is her pen pal. And I would have liked a little bit more Lucas. I needed him to be fleshed out a little bit more. Perhaps take David out of the equation after that first little double date on Halloween and put Lucas in there a little sooner, because he seems to be the mysterious guy, always listening to his music, and you never know what he's thinking. But we just don't get to know him at all. After she runs into him, she goes to her office aide duties and is sent to Ortega's class for one reason or another. And this is about the halfway point. which I was a little confused about because we are getting a big spoiler here and we're only halfway through the book. So I was like, what's the rest of the book going to be about? But we'll get there. Who do you think is her pen pal? Cade. She's devastated. She's like, I can't believe this person that I've come to know and in some respects love is Cade. Second, she's upset with Isabel because Isabel is in Cade's class. She told Isabel about her pen pal, and Isabel had never said, oh yeah, it could be Cade. Isabel's side of it is that she wasn't sure how Lily would take it, and she just didn't kind of want to get into it. And then Lily is upset because she feels like Isabel lied to her. Isabel could have solved this a long time ago. So they have a little tiff. She also decides, I'm going to stop writing to him. I can't stand this guy. He is not the same person in person as he is in his letters. I'm cutting all contact. She can't bring herself to do it. So they do continue their contact. But at some point, she advises him, why don't you ask your stepdad what the disconnect is? Like what his problem is with you or what you're not doing that he wants you to do? Nobody knows that this is not Cade's real dad. This is something that he has kept very secret. It peels back another layer for him, for her, to know this secret of his. We have a couple other things happen. She is able to gather the courage to ask Lucas out, and they go to a concert. Wyatt comes home from his first t-ball practice, and he's all excited, and he tells her that Cade had given him the nickname Pink Lightning because he had a pink swoosh on his cleats. This upsets her so much because she again is like, why is Cade making fun of my brother? Why is he giving him this nickname the way he gave me a nickname? She goes and she confronts Cade, and he said, I wasn't trying to be mean. I was trying to help because I knew he was going to be made fun of because his stuff is all secondhand. So her mom could only buy what she could buy. In order to deflect, he made it into something cool. He made it into something of a joke. This is when she brings up the fact that he's always been so mean to her, and he gave her a nickname that she didn't want, and he's basically the same reason. I wasn't meaning to be mean. I thought I was helping you by deflecting, by making the fact that you're really bad at sports and all these balls keep coming your way, like making it funny. She's like, but it's not funny and not everybody wants you to help them. From here, it is Thanksgiving. Wouldn't you know it? Wyatt has asked Cade to spend Thanksgiving with them. Yeah, Lily's not very happy about it, but she and Cade declare a truce. They're like, okay, we will be nice to each other and we'll have a great time. He surprises her because, again, she's got this big, wily family, and she's like, there's no way he's going to stay. They're going to run him off. He is going to think we're utterly ridiculous, and I'm going to be so embarrassed. But he surprises them, and he stays. He stays way longer than Ashley's boyfriend stays. And then comes the family tradition she had told him about in her letter. And she was like, she's trying real hard to make sure that Cade does not know that she's his pen pal. She's really rude to him and basically kicks him out before he can witness this family tradition with the pie eating and everything. And her mom, none too happy with her. When they're back at school, she's in detention and Sasha shows up. Sasha sees her writing in her notebook, and she takes the notebook and she starts reading out loud. She's stopped before she can say too much because when Lily had discovered that Cade was her pen pal, she was so angry, and she includes his name in something. So before Sasha can get to that page, she tells the teacher, she's like, hey, look, she stole my notebook. So even though Sasha isn't reading it out loud, she still reads it and she figures it out. She may or may not officially be dating Cade at this moment, but because Cade saw Sasha sitting in Lily's seat, she's like, well, I'm sure he thinks that she's the pen pal, and they've been circling each other anyways, so I'm sure that he took this as an opportunity to ask her out, because I think she'd overheard Sasha say something to Lauren. Sasha comes up to her later and is like, does he know you're his pen pal? Somehow she knew about all of this. And Lily's like, nope, absolutely not. And Sasha's like, well, yeah, better keep it that way. I want you to stay very far away from Cade. To which Lily's like, wish granted. I don't want to have anything to do with him anyways. Which we all know by this point, she's in denial. Part of it is she's so used to hating him. The other part is she doesn't want to hurt Isabel because Isabel had been with him first. Unfortunately for her, her mother, because she is so upset that Lily was rude to Cade, she sends her over with a peace offering. So before Lily had him kicked out, the mother had been making a man bracelet. She sends Lily to Cade's house as a peace offering. She goes inside and it's kind of awkward, like for me. It is not necessarily an awkward scene, but for me, it was a little cringe-worthy, but he's been oddly nice to her, and there's like a romantic tension happening here, very, very obviously. And then he's like, well, you need to show me how to put this on. So she's putting it on, and he says, why don't we like each other? So they have this whole convo and they clear the air about these misunderstandings and about how he doesn't need to save everybody. Like, that's just not his job. You get the impression that he likes her, and you can tell at this point that she is fighting those feelings for him. A couple days later in class, she stops receiving letters from Cade. At first, she thinks it's because he's out, like that he's been sick. But then she realizes, oh no, he's here. He's just not writing me back. And this coincides with Lucas saying, hey, you want me to take you to meet my friend and she can assess your guitar? So they go, and the friend is like, well, I don't really think it's fixable, but like we might be able to do something for a couple $100. And Lily, she's like, well, thanks, let me think about it. All the while knowing she can't afford that. That's never gonna happen. They go back to their cars, and Lucas is trying to ask her out, which I'm just like, I don't get it. If he's this unattainable senior, why was he so attainable for you? I like the fact that he wasn't an unattainable jerk, that they could actually be compatible. I thought that was wonderful. But I was just like, my goodness, was it really that easy in high school? He tries to ask her out again, and she looks at him and she's like, dude, I'm sorry. I asked you out for the wrong reason. I asked you out because I was trying to get over somebody else, but I still have feelings for this person, and the timing is bad for you and me. He's like, that's totally fine, I get it. He leaves, and Cade pops up because Cade and his friends, I think there's an In-N-Out. So he and his friends went to the In-N-Out to eat. And okay, I understand his dad is absent. His dad never remembers his birthday. His dad basically just sends money whenever. And because of his dad, he was able to buy a really nice car. I could not fathom the fact that because his dad helped him buy this car, it took away some of his connection to this car, and so he was just willing to let his friends drive off in his luxury car. That was a hard one for me to swallow, but that's what happens. She is just melting down. So he's there for her, and he says, let me take you somewhere. So he takes her to a country club where his stepdad is a member. They go out and they sit and they connect. They end up getting caught, and neither here nor there. But it's a nice little moment that, again, brings them closer together. Of course, she is stuck on the fact that he's Isabel's ex-boyfriend, and she doesn't want to step on any toes. She has this combo with Isabel, and Isabel is a little wary at first, but she gives her blessing. She's like, look, we didn't necessarily break up because of you, but he was never interested in me. He never showed me the same kind of interest and emotion and passion as he did when he would talk about you guys' arguments. It's like, we were not meant to be. Besides, I'm with Gabe now. I don't really care. She and Cade had a combo about their impact on Isabel and the failing of that relationship. And because she feels like Cade treated Isabel really bad, and Cade's like, you treat Isabel really bad. What Cade did is he was emotionally distant. He would never open up to her, and he didn't treat her super well. He felt that Isabel was flaky, that she was always calling out, that she wouldn't do things because she had family obligations. And now we have the blessing. She also comes home to find that her siblings, not only did Ashley restore the advertisement for the songwriting contest, but that her siblings had pitched in like $100 so that she could find a new guitar. And she ends up finding something on Craigslist. She's really buoyed by their confidence and encouragement. She's like, okay, I can absolutely do this. After she speaks to Isabel, Isabel encourages her to reveal the truth. And as high schoolers do, she was like, I can't do this face to face. So she decides to reveal her identity in a letter. She gets to Cam and she puts the letter under the desk. When she comes back the next day, there is no response. And she's like, oh, great. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what this means. She coerces Isabel into helping her get the key from the office aide and sneaking into the chem lab. Well, the thing is, Cade had seen her and had followed her as she was running from one place to the other. He catches up to her as she's trying to break into the chem class. And he's like, look, I've known for a very long time. I think it came down to the bands that they liked. And when he had gone to pick Wyatt up for baseball practice, he had heard her listening to music and she opened the door. So he's like, I've known since before you knew. Yes, let's absolutely start dating. He wants her to come to this school rally. I think it has something to do with the fact that he plays baseball and they're going to honor the baseball team, and he wants her there to support him. She's like, absolutely, totally cool, fine, whatever, I'll be there. But before anything starts, Sasha gets up. And Sasha had apparently stolen Lily's notebook. Under the pretense of Lily having won a poetry contest, she reads the song that Lily wrote about Cade. Lily is devastated. Cade leaves. Isabel, sensible as she is like, why would he blame you? Sasha did this. It was not your fault. Because Lily is like, that song was personal and it revealed personal facts about him. She's just worried that he's upset, that he's mad at her. So she's trying to find him and she can't. Like, she's looked everywhere. And then she realizes, actually, I've not looked everywhere. There's one more place. So she goes back to the country club and finds him. Turns out he'd also actually received a letter from his bio dad. So when she had recommended he write a letter to his stepdad, he said, well, actually, I'm gonna write one to my bio dad instead. So he's got that letter, and then his beef with her is that her not sharing this song with him makes him think that she still doesn't trust him, that she still thinks that he's gonna make fun of her and he's gonna be mean to her about it. She's like, no, the whole thing, because he completely understands Sasha is at fault for this. But she says, it's nothing about that. That wasn't my story to tell. Those were not my words. That was not my life to share. That was yours. And he goes, but it was really good. And we're coming full circle here, because at the beginning, she would not let anybody see her songs, not even her best friend, not even her family. And then the first time that anybody sees her song, it is publicly. And everybody liked it. So I'm just like, okay, so now do we have yet another character who thinks that they're really crappy at something, but they're actually really talented? But by this point, I liked her, so I let it slide. But it did cross my mind. I was like, is she one of those girls who thinks she's uglier than she is, who thinks that nobody likes her when actually she's super popular, and who thinks that she has no talent but is actually a prodigy. They make up, but he does hand her the letter from his dad. And basically, the dad is not taking accountability for anything. He is saying, I know I could have done things, but you could have too. When in the end, he's the father, he should have initiated more. And he does say something about how he's been busy with family obligations. And it's like, well, is Cade not a family obligation? We're moving through all of that, and we get to the point where she's trying to finish the song. She does end up finishing it, and he gives her his blessing, and you get the sense that good things are in store for her. The one thing that I have yet to reveal is that the person that broke her guitar was Wyatt. Apparently Wyatt wanted to be just like her and learn how to play the guitar, so he went into her room and he accidentally broke her guitar, which, I don't know, it just bothers me. It bothers me that she has something very precious to her, something very important to her, something that she was responsible enough to fund on her own. She's responsible enough to take care of, to make sure that it is safe, and her parents completely disregard her wishes about people staying out of her room. I mean, it's possible that her dad wasn't even there. Her dad is kind of a non-entity in terms of both parents, but the mother, whatever she does do, is like a work from home deal. So how does she not know, especially since Lily has made a point of letting her parents know her wishes regarding her room? I just we're gonna move on from that. But yeah, that is the book. I thought it was really cute, entertaining. I was really interested. I liked the way that once we got to that midpoint where she learns that it was Cade, I liked the way it was handled to keep the suspension going towards the end when she will or won't reveal, and I liked the way that she had to get over her misconceptions of him. I totally recommend, and I would not be against reading another one of her books. So if you have read anything Kasie West, please let me know what your recommendations are. And have a great day. Bye.